In the next segment in our showcase, we're going to hear from my friend Rob Davis at Accenture. And Rob is going to share with us a few ideas that are coming out from his experience working with clients who are looking to transform their customer journey. So Rob, welcome to the stage.
Great, Woodson, thank you. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here and excited to take a few minutes to share with you some of the observations that we have at Accenture, both myself, my Accenture colleagues, working with many of you, working through the issues, the desired outcomes, the challenges that you have, and really achieving this place that we call personalization at scale, relevance at scale. And so what I hope, after my 15 minutes or so up here, my short time with you, I'll share with you a couple of ideas, maybe a little bit of insight, maybe a spark, maybe something provocative that you can take back with you as part of your journey as you work with these new ideas, these new technologies, your clients, in order to achieve your objectives. So I want to focus on three key observations today. Observation one is that this personalization is really hard. It's easy for us to talk about the right channel, the right person, the right offer, the right time, but this stuff is really, really hard to do. The next, I want to talk about how the marketing ecosystem has become really complex. It's hard. There's a lot of technologies. That's why we're here today. Great technologies from ExactTarget, but there's a lot of pieces and parts that need to come together. And then the last observation I want to go into is talking about the evolving campaign management environment, and that it's changing. It's no longer just accounts and lists, but this evolving campaign management 2.0 has a lot more to it, and we think it's a lot more exciting from where campaign management used to be. So if you do this right, it's also more about increasing top-line revenue growth. And as you go back and you're working on your projects and your business cases, remember there's really a balanced scorecard of really 5 key metrics that you really can achieve here with these capabilities and technologies. Not only top-line revenue growth, but think about increasing your customer satisfaction, increasing your speed to market, and also opportunities to take cost out of your marketing operations and reduce risks. So think about the balanced scorecard and really what you're trying to achieve here across multiple areas as you build these solutions. So let's now drop down into the first one. Personalization is really hard. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's easy to talk about the right message, the right channel, the right customer. But when you multiply that by how many touch points and how many millions of customers that you have, and you do the math, you realize this is really hard to do. And you think about, as we go home next week and we start to jump into Journey Builder and build all those journeys and think about all the things that are going to come behind that, all the content that we're going to build, there's a lot to do to bring all these pieces together. The next challenge about this being hard is that, as marketers, we have responsibility for our brands. And if you look at our brand value and look at it as the summation of all of our customer experiences, we in marketing control marketing, but what about sales and what about service? And all of those areas impact our brand. So how as we as marketers can take on the challenge, really think about that customer experience across marketing, sales, and service to really focus on the brand. And then the last piece is about the content. The content is hard, it's expensive, it's time-consuming, but the digital transformation is really driving a tremendous amount of new content. So these are really some of the key problems that we really got to solve as we look at moving into this digital transformation, personalization environment. As we look around for some of the ideas of how to solve these problems, I pulled up Accenture's annual CMO survey, and there's a question in there that kind of highlights some ideas, kind of point us in the right direction. And the question to the CMOs were, what's impacting your organization's ability to execute the strategy? Strategy, we can define that, not easy, but easier than the execution. And so what's getting in the way of execution? One of the top things, in top left there, underlined, is the technologies. And that's why we're here today. We're looking at those technologies. But the other two areas I wanted to point out here, it's around 2 other components in the marketing operating model. And that is our processes, and then the skills, our people, our org structures. So to really punch through and to really achieve the value that we get out of this digital transformation, we really need to relook at that marketing operating model, look at the processes, look at our org structures, where does a digital team fit in, where does e-commerce fit in, how do we come together enable that new operating model with the right technologies, wrap governance around it. And so punching through and really designing the new operating model is one of the key things necessary to really achieve this personalization at scale. The next topic I wanted to talk about was how the marketing ecosystem has become very complex. And it doesn't seem like very long ago, direct marketing was somewhat simple. We started with some data, although bringing that data together is still hard. We really haven't solved that one very well. But once we got the data pulled together, we had smart people. We could do some analytics, some segmentation. We did some plans, and we executed campaigns, sent them out across a few channels, and measured the results. And so it was pretty straightforward as we acquired, as we grew, as we developed programs to retain our best customers. Now as we move into this new digital world and digital transformation, we really take that and add a lot more complexity to it. So that simple world on the right-hand side of the slide, campaign management. And as you can see, I've started to morph it a little bit. And it's not just marketing messages anymore, but we're starting to ask our campaign management technology now think about not just marketing messages, but sales messages, services messages. So that's one complexity in this new environment. On the left-hand side of the page, now is where our focus is around the anonymous world. So we still have our mass media, which is important, but now we've got the challenge of coordinating now the whole online world as well. The banner ads, the paid search, our mobile apps. With our objective, though, is how are we trying to coordinate all of these marketing pieces together to drive people into the top of our sales funnel, to come to our websites, to click to our websites, to visit our retail stores, to pick up the phone and call, to get them into this new funnel. And once we have them there, take them through that journey from prospect to customer to advocate. But a whole new set of complexities in this ecosystem. So if we really look at it from a technical perspective, and I'm not going to drain this slide, so don't worry, but I wanted to really make 2 points on it. Number one, that the ecosystem has a lot of technologies. It's really complex. Yesterday we heard 9 announcements. Great product announcement. So there's a lot of great technology coming in, but connecting all the pieces together and really get it integrated and getting it right is what it's going to take to really provide that really high-performing marketing organization. The other second point I wanted to make on this slide was you can see campaign management kind of in the middle there, and that getting back to this concept of campaign management growing up to become campaign management 2.0, and asking campaign management to really now take on not just our marketing messages, but to really become that enterprise communication capability where it's taking all messages, whether it's a marketing message, a sales message, a service message, and becoming that one hub to ensure consistent messages with some governance structure around it across the entire organization. So if we look at this new world of campaign management, again, no longer it's about counts and sending out a list, but it's about a number of other new things that it's morphing into. So it's no longer about marketing messages, but now we need to think about this as the capability to be that one enterprise tool to manage all of the messages out to your customer base. Marketing messages, sales messages, service messages. We also need to flip around our thinking from the old way of having an offer, having a catalog, having an email, and go finding the 1 million or 500,000 or 50,000 customers to send it to. Flip it around and think about, I've got multiple messages, multiple offers, and let me go find that one customer that it's best suited for at the right time, at the right channel, at the right moment of truth. And then the last thought about where campaign management needs to be is we need to get out of the thinking of we've got our monthly catalog, we've got our weekly email, we've got our daily special, and start to think about the concept of marketing really needs to be always on. We are always on, waiting for someone to come to the website, key in the right words, and we end up at the top of the Google search list. Always on when the customer picks up the phone, comes to our service rep, and we have the right message or offer out to that customer. So marketing is really happening all the time, that we're going through this journey, or our customers are going through this journey with us, and we need to be prepared all the time for them. So in this new world of Campaign Management 2.0, a couple of new thoughts, a couple of new use cases to think about. Traditionally, we focus on the known customers, but let's start to think about also the anonymous customers out there as well, because now we are starting to know who they are through cookies and IP addresses. In this case up here on the slide, think of a credit card that shows up in our retail stores. We don't have to know who that person is, but if we know that credit card shows up once a week, we know what they buy and what categories and what frequency, we have the opportunity to market to that credit card at the point-of-sale device. Real-time communications, we've talked a lot about that over the last couple of days. But the third area I wanted to focus on was new marketing channels. And that in the current channels that we have right now, there are actually some micro channels. So think about the concept where you go to Amazon, you buy a product, a couple of days later, you get the shipping notification, and it comes in your email box. And if all of our email boxes are very full, so most likely our customer is going to open up that shipping notification because they're waiting for that Amazon product to ship. And so, what a great opportunity! Now you have that person in front of you. You can then provide some type of offer, some type of message in that new micro channel inside of that shipping notification that was part of our email channel. So the last thought, just to close out here, to kind of bring some things together and some ideas of where to start. So a framework here kind of gives us 4 pillars, starting from the left to the right. Ensure that we've got our online digital presence. We're attracting customers to our websites. We're looking at campaign management, not from just a marketing standpoint, but marketing, sales, and service. We're developing that multi-channel dialogue through technology such as next best action. Someone comes to our website or our call center, we have the right next. And it's not next best offer. We really call it next best action because it could be a promotion or offer, but also could be a service message as well. And then lastly, find those opportunities where you have real-time contextual marketing. Take advantage of that opportunity. And then string all this together, not as 4 silos, but as customer experience that is integrated from end to end. So with that, next I'd like to introduce to you one of my customers, Elizabeth Sklaroff from Xcel Energy. Elizabeth, you can come on up. Thank you.
Hey, Rob.
There you go. Thank you.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here this morning and talk a little bit about how we've transformed campaign management and how we've really brought it to life in the context of the customer journey. That's certainly a word we've heard a lot around here. We've heard a lot about the customer journey. In fact, so much so we could even make a little drinking game out of it. Every time you hear the word drink or journey, have a little drink. I think it's kind of funny. But really what I think is more amazing is that at Xcel Energy, we're a utility, but we're really committed to doing the right thing for the environment and really the right thing for our customers. That's represented by the fact that we're #1 in wind for the last 10 years, and we've been top 10 in solar. We serve 8 states with headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What's really interesting, what I find fascinating about Xcel Energy, about marketing for Xcel Energy, is that we're a monopoly. So why do we really have to market? Do we really have to market at all? Because we've got you. What we like to think of it as the win-win-win. When we're marketing effectively, we're driving customers into our energy efficiency programs. Our energy efficiency programs can be anything from the kinds of bulbs you use in your house to, if you're a big business, getting commercial refrigeration. These energy efficiency programs make our customers happier. We've done our homework, and what we know is when our customers know about these programs, they're engaged. They're happier customers. That's the first win. The second win is the one for the environment. When we're bringing customers into our energy efficiency programs, they're using less. There's less generation required, and that's good for the environment. So that's the second win. And the third win, that one's on the inside. That's for Xcel Energy leadership. We're measured and scored by how well we drive customers into our energy efficiency programs. Makes our leadership really happy when our customers are engaging with us and using these programs. We all know it really helps when your leadership is happy, right? So that's a great win. So now that you understand why we would market, I want to tell you, we've been using a lot of email marketing. We're pretty effective, but we knew we weren't really doing it as well as we could. We knew that there were some gaps. So one thing that we recognized when we were sending email campaigns is that customers unsubscribe when you're sending too many emails. Look at this stat. 69% of customers are unsubscribing because they're receiving too many mass marketing emails. And we were kind of going down that road. It wasn't going to be a good place for us. We recognized this. And what we were really seeing was with the lack of campaign management, we weren't able to know how many customers were we touching at any given time, and were we over or under communicating. This was a problem, and it was really a great example of this. Is we have this really lighthearted, fun email magazine. We send it out several times a year. It's a great piece. It really engages our customers. We also happened to announce a rate case communication. And for those of you who aren't familiar, that means that rates are going up. There's an increase in rates. We announced that the same day that we sent our lighthearted, feel-good email magazine. It was a disaster. Basically, our customers did not appreciate us trying to sit around and make fun jokes about how they could bring energy efficiency in and tell them about cute pictures of bunnies and rabbits while we're also saying, hey, your rates are going up. And by the way, you got to do it. So this is a problem. We recognized it. So we really wanted to look at campaign management and say, how do we value that customer journey? How do we bring it to a place that feels good to the customers and really starts to deliver that win? We also had some stuff going on the inside that wasn't working so well in terms of campaign management. So not only were we struggling to really reach those customers in a way that was meaningful, we had some very broken things on the inside. For example, in our ExactTarget database, we had a subscriber key issue, I like to think of it. Basically, we're taking a campaign activity ID over here and an email address over here, concatenating them. What that was doing was giving us our subscriber key. The problem was it wasn't unique to our email addresses. So at our worst point, we had 37 million email addresses in our database, but only 1.8 were unique. We could never go into that database. We could never market effectively because the data was junk. I'm sorry, it was junk. And the other problem that we were dealing with, because we couldn't go into that database, is we then had to go to our business analyst team and say, hey, can you pull this list? Can you query SQL? Can you write this code? It was not effective. It took 4 to 6 weeks to turn around an email marketing list. I'm waiting to hear gasps. Like, you should be gasping. 4 to 6 weeks to get an email list. You can't be effective. You just can't be, you can't reach those customers at the right time, at the right channel, at the right place if you're 6 weeks late to the party. We knew this. We knew this was a huge problem. So how did we solve it? Well, we did a really ambitious project where we looked at campaign management. We looked at campaign management in Salesforce. We knew if we took the out-of-the-box functionality and then layered in some customization in the right places, we would have the right tool. We could use cloud-based campaign management. Great. We knew we needed to get the noise out of the ExactTarget database. We knew we needed to get rid of those 37 million subscribers. They had to be history. And then the last thing we wanted to do is give our customers a choice in how we communicated with them. We wanted to bring forward a preference center. So we kind of felt like this trifecta of projects could come together as one. What we didn't realize is we would get 120 days to do it. Woohoo! So that was a lot of work, a lot of work. Through a partnership with business systems, customer care, marketing, and then technology partners like Accenture, ExactTarget, and Possible Now, we were able to bring forward this really, really ambitious project and a really, really consolidated runway. In fact, some of us are still tired just thinking about it. You know who you are. But basically, the results, this is my favorite part, are really, really good. When you compare Q1 pre-project to Q2 post-project, unique open rates, those are up 5.5%. That's really cool. It means we're engaging our customers better than ever. The other really, really cool thing, by using this preference center, 40% of our customers are retaining a preference, so we can communicate with them so they're opted in. That's going back to that first win of engagement. It feels really great to know that some of our customers are preferring to be communicated with. We never had a choice. Before, they used to just click unsubscribe and they were gone, out of there, forever. So, and then the last part, and this is really my favorite part to talk about, or what do we look like internally now with this campaign management project launched? It's so cool. When we want to see what's in market to any given customer, we go into Salesforce, we run a report of what's pending, what's going to be going out this week, what'll be going out in the future. We can see a holistic view of campaign management, and it's so nice. It's so nice to be able to see what's out there and how we're reaching our customers. Other thing that's really, really cool about this is we can start seeing opportunities coming back against those campaigns. Feels really, really good to see that kind of granularity in our numbers, and it feels really, really good to be able to tell leadership, this activity works, this one doesn't. And so I'll leave you with, what are we looking for the future? We're looking forward to bringing in Journey Builder, adding some automation, and really expanding on those internal wins. Oh, and what I really forgot to mention, and I have to, is that we can get our marketing lists in days. Days. It used to take 4 to 6 weeks. I was expecting cheering, but it's probably on the inside. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and congratulations on your success. Super exciting. And Rob, if you could come back up for a second. Okay, we'll have a seat for a second, and we'll just touch on a couple of key questions. So I know one thing that everybody in this room is thinking about, and I've heard the conversation 3 or 4 times this week, is, okay, we're speeding up. Like, you've gone from weeks to days, and we're talking about customer journeys being executed in real time. What's going on when you think about the content that people do? Suddenly, if this pace is picking up in our marketing to this degree, how are people organizing to do this? To what extent are they adapting their organizational models and the way they work together to go this fast?
Well, we like to use the analogy that marketing looks like a factory, and this factory produces widgets of store signage, product packaging, emails, web landing pages. And so if you really want to make this factory much more operationally effective, we need to look at the processes, redesign the processes. We need to look at the alignment of roles and responsibilities, put the right enabling technologies around those new processes, and then a new governance around it. And that's going to enable us to get more of that content through that much more operationally effective factory.
Yeah. So, Elizabeth, how about at Xcel? What are you seeing there on this? How's the content machine factory working?
Absolutely. You know what? We're actually thinking of our communications consultants as content strategists now, because one piece of content has to live across every channel, and it's unwise not to think about it that way. We know content's king. I hate to say it.
Awesome. You ended your talk talking about the customer journey, and we've been talking a lot about that here this week. As you think about who owns that? Who is it in the organization that really owns the customer experience, owns the customer journey across? You talked about sales, service, marketing. Who owns that today? What are you seeing in your clients?
I think, as we look around the room, a room full of marketers, I think it's really our responsibility to own that customer experience. And if not us, who? I mean, we're the ones who are primarily putting together the messages, and if now those messages need to be consistent across marketing, sales, and service, we're really in the right position to take on that responsibility and drive it through for our organizations.
And how about, Elizabeth, as you think about this as Xcel Energy?
You know my answer. It's always the email marketing specialists that should own that. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's we actually have a customer experience team, and they're all about that customer journey. But then it's always, for us, it's cross-functional. You can't, bring in one journey because it's going to have so many touch points. You have to kind of look across the marketing organization.
Well, you've made a ton of great advances, it sounds like, and super excited about the statistics you shared with everybody. Thank you both so much for coming out to Connections and sharing your expertise with us today.
Great. Thank you.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Love to be here.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Let's give it up for Rob Davis and Elizabeth Skaroff. Great. Okay, so we have one more segment that we want to do at our Marketing Technology Showcase, and earlier this week, we announced a partnership with Omnicom, a global partnership between Salesforce and Omnicom to deliver a customer journey platform. Incredibly exciting. And here today from one of Omnicom's leading agencies, Resolution Media, is their global president, Alan Osetek. And we talked about a lot of different channels this week. Great to see you, and this is going to be yours. I'm excited to think about, we haven't really talked about bringing TV into the mix and how we integrate that with some of these other digital channels. And I think you've got some amazing stories for us, and also going to bring on a story from Discovery Channel. So we'll hear about that in a minute. Thank you so much, Alan. We're super
Absolutely.
excited to have
Thank you,
here.
Whitson. Well, as was mentioned earlier in the week, Mark from Salesforce and Jonathan Nelson, our CEO of Digital, got up on stage and talked about a partnership between the two organizations. And sometimes when you see announcements like that, you think to yourself, well, what does that really mean in application? So today what we're going to talk about is two particular media channels and two very large-scale media channels, TV and social advertising, and how the two can work together to help brands and marketers. So before we get started, next Monday, I have the opportunity to speak at a marketing and advertising class at Bentley University in Waltham, Mass. And the first question I'm going to ask the students in the room, because I want to know, are they still teaching the marketing funnel in school? Is that the way that students are being taught marketing? Because, you know, whether it be a mobile phone or your iPad or any other channels that you're consuming media today, I'm not really sure this true marketing funnel, or at least it doesn't necessarily look like the traditional marketing funnel, exists anymore, because we dip in and out of different media channels and consume different types of media on a daily basis. And as we're consuming that, as we're consuming media, we have all sorts of different types of content type that we can choose. And I think, you know, earlier we saw a great slide that started in the 1950s with from the phone company to the direct mailers, all the way up until today, where we have all these different channels that are one-to-one. I personally used to own an email marketing company, so I'm very familiar with the concept of one-to-one. But in many other digital channels, search, social, and others, and display, these are new concepts that we're gaining access to data channels behind the scenes, looking at consumer preferences, and we have that ability today to target consumers one-to-one. And I think what's great for consumers is, with all these different channels and all these different content types, there's never been a time before where you have access to any information you want at any time. So it's a great thing for consumers. Now, one particular channel that's really taken off this year, I think 2014 was absolutely the year of social. You look at the big social players, and there's a reason why Facebook and Twitter stock price is doing so well. So, you know, Blake mentioned one thing that Facebook did. I think Facebook's done three things very well in the last 24 months. The first thing they did was they built an awesome social platform, and they scaled it globally. The second thing they did is they moved to mobile. But the third thing they did, quite honestly, is you have to pay to play, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or any of these social channels that are really making a lot of money. You have to pay to play. You have to pay for advertising in social nowadays, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's going to help develop the industry, develop these platforms, which is good for consumers. So what I want to talk about here is, at Omnicom, we work with a number of different brand marketers, and we're really starting to test this TV synchronization with social. So as an example, you know, for those of you, I'm sure you all remember last year on the VMAs, Miley Cyrus, the famous twerking episode. Well, while that was going on live, real time, one of our clients at Omnicom is Pepsi, and we had built a war room of social practitioners who were, you know, watching the event and, you know, getting ready to see what Miley was going to do. We didn't know what she was going to do, but this event happened. What we did was we basically wrapped ourselves around Twitter advertising and what was going on real time with Miley, and the results speak for themselves. We actually had more tweets per minute than occurred last year at the Super Bowl. So and what that meant for, whether it be the Pepsi example or other client case studies we have, we're seeing true brand lift and recognition, and the social media channels working hard for brand advertisers. So now what I want to do is I want to have Seth come up on stage, and we're going to talk about a specific case study that that Resolution, in conjunction with Twitter and Discovery, all did together to go into a more deeper dive presentation on TV synchronized with Twitter.
Thanks, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here. So here's our challenge. So I would say we have two major challenges in terms of spending, advertising, and Twitter. The first one is that Twitter captures 99% of the conversation about television, and that's a great thing for us because we want to be relevant, but it's also a horrific challenge in terms of it's such a competitive environment. So there's tons of noise. How do you stand out? The second one is the measurement challenge. So anyone who has offline goals can feel my pain here. The traditional native digital metrics like click rates, interaction rates, video completes. These things are historically terrible predictors of whether somebody's watched a television show or not. And frankly, this is our goal when we go out and spend money. We are trying to drive ratings for our network, and I could give you some business about brand halo and landing page conversions, but it would really just be nonsense. Our goal is to drive ratings. So Resolution Media and Twitter and us figured out a way to try to get underneath this issue a little bit. So what we did was we did a control exposed study for a special that aired on the Oprah Winfrey Network, Master Class with Tim McGraw. For those who don't know, Discovery Communications owns roughly 13 domestic networks. One of them is a joint venture with Harpo called the Oprah Winfrey Network. So we chose this special mostly because we wanted to learn. We could have chosen a summer franchise like Shark Week, and I'm confident I could have stood in front of you here to say, wow, what an amazing case study. We drove ratings through the roof, and conversation in social media was tremendous. But we wanted to actually learn from this study and apply it to future campaigns. So this is why we picked the Tim McGraw special. Okay, so what did we learn? The first thing is that ad engagement is a great thing in that it fuels the sort of earned social economy, but it says absolutely nothing about whether someone watched a television show or not. So this is tough. So what you're seeing here are the results, and look at this massive spike in those who are aware, those who engaged with the ad and became aware of the special. And then on the right-hand side, you have the key metric, which is, did they intend to watch the show? And these numbers are not statistically different than those who didn't engage with the ad. So, yikes. Okay, let's dig underneath this and see if we can figure out what happened. So, in terms of a marketing vehicle, Twitter's and really, frankly, social media in general, power to zero in on key fans can't be denied. What you're seeing here is the massive spike in intent to tune among people who are claimed Tim McGraw fans. And so we're really working the data layers in social here. So when we keyed in on the real fans, we moved the needle. But what that effectively means is that the media working against our broader targets didn't work as hard as we wanted to. In particular, we saw a pretty massive drop against our core African American women metric. Okay, so why do we see this? So one reason we think is our frequency distribution, and this is not the sexiest notion in the world, but this is really the guts of the campaign here. So what this graph is showing you is that even with a fairly healthy budget in Twitter, 7 out of 10 people only saw our ad once. And I don't care what business you work in, that can't be an effective distribution. So this is some research from Twitter showing that when people are interested in entertainment content, they first look to talent to follow in Twitter. And we have talent. Tim McGraw is, he's no Keisha or Farrell, but he's a fairly big star. So this is, you get a look at the creative, and I actually think we could have done a little better here in terms of creative. I think we could have had stronger calls to action. I think we could have given away some more interesting tidbits about the show, but really what strikes me about this creative is kind of how polished and studio-like the photos are. And that's not Twitter. Twitter is more raw. So I can't help but think we would have had better results with a kind of more real photo. But alas, you have to, on balance, say that having talent on the level of Tim McGraw and Oprah is a net good thing for your shows. So we did have both of them live tweeting during the event, and the result was a tweet scale that we hadn't seen before on the show. We beat out season averages. We did have to exclude Justin Timberlake in this calculation. As you know, anything involving Justin Timberlake kind of takes on a life of its own in Twitter. So yeah, more unique tweets, more unique authors, and more tweets than we had seen throughout the season. And these are just some of the examples of the things people were saying. So the folks we got in were really passionate. So why else might we have seen the results we saw? So one of the things we know as marketers is there's a layered media effect. So in other words, those who see both a tweet and a television ad are more likely to convert than those who see uniquely one or the other. This is the point of the TV sync products, essentially. So we're really, and at Discovery, we're starting to quantify this notion in a much more sophisticated way. But I would argue that we perhaps didn't deploy this insight in the best way we could have. So what's here is sort of what the rest of the marketing mix looked like for this show, and it looks nice and healthy, but in the end, we really only had roughly 10 national cable rating points, and this is far below what we would probably consider enough scale to move the needle, and in particular to move the to meaningfully react to the layered media effect. So what did we learn? Here are the key takeaways. So I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I would say be very mindful about using engagement rates as a proxy for offline interest. And this was a suspicion going into it, and the study proved this. So we got to get underneath the guts of this and figure out metrics that matter. The second thing is use Twitter. It's tempting to use Twitter for scale, but really zeroing in on unique audiences and the unique data layers that exist in social is going to be much more beneficial to the brand. Frequency, again, this is kind of the nerdy stuff, but this could very well be the variable that most affects our offline metrics. So I would say really key in on this and key in on the distribution of your exposures. And then use your celebrities if you have them, but get them to take some risks. And then lastly, Twitter alone doesn't make a campaign. You really need all the elements of the marketing mix working to drive ratings.
Thank you so much, Seth. Okay, great to have you here. And if we could get you, Alan, back on the stage, we'll follow up with a few brief questions. It's an amazing story, and it's an exciting one. Not all of the folks in the audience are able to leverage celebrities in their marketing the way that you are. I wonder if maybe we could talk a little bit about, maybe Alan, how are you seeing others who may not have that asset at their disposal drive this kind of engagement? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think Seth actually mentioned in one of his slides earlier, I think the key focus is if you don't have a celebrity, you utilize social networks, friends and family, or really, really good content that can be one-to-one to actually drive home the same point.
Great. Seth, I don't know if you have any advice for those who aren't working with celebrities. You spend most of your time, I guess, in that world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually. I mean, most of our brands are, our talent is not Hollywood like this. So, it's your normal hardworking Joe who just has, who makes normal extraordinary. So, yeah, very much. What's great about social is the way you can really key in on passion groups. And those passion groups exist with or without celebrity. You just have to, use your insights to find them.
That's great. So I'm very interested in a project like this one. Where's the balance of effort? How much is being executed by agencies? How much is it by the brand team? What's that balance you're seeing?
Yeah, whether it be the Pepsi example or the Discovery example in the last year or so, we've really we've been experimenting and trying to learn, best practices and how to push the envelope in synchronizing TV with social channels. And, I think on the agency side, I think what we're best at is we have many clients doing this so we can look at best practices across clients. We're working with partners like Salesforce and Social.com to really kind of get in the weeds of technologies, what our agency folks are good at. So, strategies, tactics in learning how to use technology as a lever. And on the on the brand side, obviously, Discovery knows his brand, Seth knows his brand, his team knows his brand, he knows what works, he knows what metrics that matter. And in collaboration, it's quite honestly, it's a lot of working together and kind of back and forth communication to try to figure it out.
Fantastic. Well, it's pretty exciting to see. I think we've been talking about the customer journey all week. We've been talking about a variety of digital channels. We have a lot of folks in here who think about email a lot, who think about mobile marketing. We talked a lot about the apps. It's exciting to see these channels like TV and social advertising now playing such a big role in this. When you think about driving this kind of engagement across channels, and obviously this is an exciting set of stories you've shared here, what do you think is next? What else can we do and be thinking about as marketers around driving this engagement across all these channels?
Yeah, we were talking about this a little earlier. When you're sitting in your family room with friends and family, 1 in every 3 people, whether they're passively or actively watching the TV, are using a mobile channel. I think Blake did a good job of hitting home on that when his wife
the
and him were waking up.
multi-screen phenomenon. Yeah.
I think to tie in email marketing, I think one interesting aspect of using things like Facebook custom audiences is to really more integrate the email channel into these type TV sync social type email programs, and adding a few other channels along with maybe a better attribution analysis model to look at how the channels are working together to actually do ultimately what Discovery is trying to do, which is basically drive TV ratings.
For us, I think we've our eye keenly on this programmatic space where I think eventually what's going to happen is we're going to boil each individual's ID down to something that we can unify across screens, and then be able to really be in the driver's seat about who's seeing what and when, and really have a sort of end consumer-based mentality and approach them in more of a content and screen and media agnostic way.
For you, it's got to have been a huge transition over the last few years in terms of just the focus on managing all that data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that's a big, huge part of the challenge of doing the kinds of work that you're talking about here. Can you tell us just a little bit about what that's been like, that transition?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a relatively recent phenomenon because in the old TV world, our relationship existed through the cable provider. And in today's world, in an on-demand world, it's much more critical that we develop direct relationships with our customers. And so absolutely, the challenge for us has been how do you incorporate third-party data, first-party data, using an offline behavior like television viewing and deploy it online. So I think that's sort of what we're in the middle of standing up now, and it's a tremendous process.
Well, it's exciting. It's an exciting story. You've had some good success here, learned a lot, and shared some of that with our audience. So thank you both for coming out today to do this. Really excited to have you as part of Connections. Thank you so much for being here. Let's hear it for Alan and for Seth.